Hello, Michelle. How are you today?
Oh, very good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm excited to chat with you. You are the queen of dental and holistic dental, I should say. So, very much appreciated. We'll start off with introducing yourself, who you are, and what you do, and what got you into your field.
Okay, yeah. So I'm a dentist, but I'm a lot of other things too. My name is Michelle Jorgensen, and I own a dental practice called Total Care Dental, where we do what I like to call health-based dentistry. But along with that, I have an outreach called Living Well with Dr. Michelle. And what it is it combines all of those things, the dental information, the dental pieces with lifestyle things as well, nutrition and gardening and all the things that I believe actually contribute to living well. So that all is put
Yes.
together underneath that roof as well. And I just love to share and teach.
I love that. And but I know that you probably went to school and it was very conventional and traditional dentistry. What led you into, or I don't know, maybe you were just right off the bat, you kind of like had a natural interest in this and you kind of just incorporated it into dentistry when you started working and starting your career. But did something happen or was where in your career did you shift into that more natural
Yeah.
perspective?
Definitely didn't start out this way.
Okay.
So I started out just traditional. I was practicing with my father and everything was going along fine. But then actually I got very sick and I didn't know what it was. Didn't know, I didn't even think that it could be related to dentistry whatsoever. So started going to doctors and
Wow.
tests and x-rays and no answers. And my big problems were gut problems, which, you just think, well, everybody has that. So you
Yeah.
started changing diet, nutrition, and it got a little bit better, but not a lot. And then the big ones were numbness. I had such bad numbness, I actually couldn't hold instruments anymore. And that doesn't work when you're a dentist. And my memory was just shot. I just couldn't remember anything. And I've always had a
Wow.
really good memory. So I knew something was really wrong. So I actually had my practice for sale. And eventually, along the searching of finding what my next step was going to be, a practitioner said, "Have you looked into mercury poisoning?" And I had never thought about it, never heard a thing about it in the profession. But those
Oh my
silver
gosh.
fillings, people call them silver. Silver fillings are actually 50% mercury. And I had been drilling them out. So I said, I don't have any fillings. And he said, no, 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 it's not the ones you have. It's the ones you've been drilling out, breathing in all
Whoa.
the vapors while you've been drilling them out right underneath your face for the last 10 years and got tested. And that's what it was. And mercury is a
Wow.
neurotoxin. So basically it was frying all of my nerves. So my hands, my brain, everything was gone, and it affects the gut too. So I had to figure out, could I still be a dentist and like get myself better and not keep breathing it in? And I had to find out that there are places, there were ways to do this. I didn't know about them. I'd never heard about them. So I had to
Wow.
learn how to do that. And then it was pretty apparent that I was changing, the practice was changing. So people would say, well, what are you doing? This is not the normal. And so I'd explain, this is for me, but this is also for you. And then I just started learning and being taught by doctors. They would say, oh, well, if you do that, well, do you also do this? And do you do this? And I didn't know what they were talking about.
Down the rabbit hole you go.
Yep. So I'd have to go find out. And eventually now we've created an entire wellness center and we get patients from all over the world coming to
Amazing.
figure out the connection between their mouth health and their overall health. And it's absolutely enormous. So
I love that. I mean, unfortunately, I still feel like holistic dentistry is not the most common thing still. It's gotten way better because now people are finding people through social media. They fly somewhere, which is amazing. But yeah, growing up, I'm like, all we had was conventional and I still feel like it's pretty
yeah,
hard to find.
yeah,
But that's why I love what you're doing because it's so necessary. And I hopefully it will start to encourage the upcoming generation of dentists to question things.
yeah.
That's my hope. But in this podcast too, we want to understand like, how do you care for yourself? So you're a perfect person to talk through this too. And walking us through your morning routine first of like, what are you doing in the morning to set yourself up for a successful day, productive day at work? These could be things like what you're eating, what are you doing, exercising. Share with us, what are you doing in the morning?
Mhm. Well, obviously, taking care of my teeth is something that I'm going to take care of.
Yes.
And I've actually worked really hard at this because I didn't feel good with a lot of the products that we were using from a mouth care regimen, because there are detergents, there are surfactants, there are all these things that they use as an antimicrobial to like clean surfaces of countertops. And we're using the same things in our mouth. So as well as fluoride. And everybody doesn't even think twice about it. You just think, oh, that's just what you do. That's just what you use.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out, well, first of all, I had to see if there were products that I could use that I did feel good about, that didn't have all of those ingredients in them. And there was nothing that I really loved. So I actually formulated my own product. So the key with this one is a couple of things. It doesn't have the any of those surfactants or detergents or preservatives or any of those kinds of things that I don't really want to eat. And people will say, oh,
Yeah.
I know I don't eat my toothpaste. I'm like, actually you do. There's no way you can't, because it mixes in with your saliva, and while you're swallowing, you're just automatically getting it down. So there's no way you can't be ingesting anything you're putting in your mouth.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have any of those things. It also doesn't have fluoride in it, because fluoride actually affects your thyroid, it affects your brain, it affects your bones, it affects all sorts of things. So I created this formula that has hydroxyapatite instead. And hydroxyapatite is what teeth are made of. So that's what we need to put back if we have a weak tooth or a sensitive tooth or a cavity in a small cavity in a tooth. We can add the hydroxyapatite back, the cavity goes away. Sensitivity goes away. So anyway, that's what I use in the morning. I use that for my tooth cleaning routine. And you feel like you just came from the dentist, like your teeth feel slick and beautiful. And then I actually have a mouth rinse that I made as well. That's a colloidal silver, along with a whole bunch of herbals. So it has marshmallow root, it has plantain, it has calendula, it has lavender, and all of these things are super good for your gum health. But what I tell people all the time is your gums are the starting point of your gut. So when you care for your gums, you're caring for your gut, because it's all one big long tube. So all of these herbal formulas are super good for that. So I always do that. Brush my teeth, rinse. That's always a starting point. And I'm actually super, super low maintenance. So I don't do heck of a lot else as far as that goes. I wash my face, whatever, but I'm not a high maintenance person. But I always have my to-do list, and I'm not always good at it, but I tackle writing very first thing in the morning, because if I don't get to writing first thing in the morning, I don't get to it. In fact, it got pushed off my calendar 3 times this week because I didn't have it first thing on my calendar. So that's pretty much the way I start out my day, is with writing. I'm writing my 6th book right now. So it takes a while. It takes a while to get those things written. So that's my first thing I do, is write. And I also do scripture study. So scriptures and writing first thing in the morning. And that just kind of kicks me off. I also run or hike twice a week. Well, twice or 3 times a week with a friend of mine. So that's my morning routine.
I love that. Yes. And I saw on your shop, which I'm going to link into the notes, that you partnered up with Just Ingredients, which is amazing, because a lot of people trust her product. I love her pre-workout. It's my jam. It's my favorite thing ever. So I'll definitely have to try out the mouthwash and stuff. What are your thoughts on Risewell and Boca and a lot of those dental companies that are coming out?
Yeah. They're great. What I don't like is we actually chose a powder instead of a paste, because some of the things that they have to include in a paste, I don't want.
Yeah.
And so I just said, well, why would I include something just to make it into a paste? Let's just make it into a powder. So there's glycerin, which sometimes interferes with the way the minerals get into the teeth. There's they're called binders to hook, to kind of bring it all together into a paste. Well, I don't want any of those things in it. So if I don't want them in it, then I'm not going to put them in it. Let's just make a powder instead. Yeah. I love that. Awesome. And then do you do anything, gratitude, meditation, even if it's just so small? I know you say you do scriptures, which is awesome. And that's how you are with writing. That's how I am with scriptures. If I don't get it in the morning, I am just, doesn't happen.
God is on the back burner, unfortunately, which is not the goal. So that's why it's okay, first thing, I have to do it.
Yeah.
But do you do anything like that? Any as part of your devotionals of gratitude, meditation?
Yep. Always start with prayer in the morning. And a big part of prayer is gratitude. Yeah. And then I've just heard something new. Actually, my running partner introduced this to me, and I love it. After prayer, she has been specifically saying, okay, what one thing do I need to do today? And she has a prayer journal that she's writing in. And so she'll write the one thing that just comes to mind right there. So I've started doing it, and I've been fascinated actually at the things that I'm getting. Like the very first day, like the answer I got was something I would not have thought of at
What?
all. And I thought it was a little bit like I didn't even agree with it. Like, you know, but I was like,
Yes.
okay, I will do it. I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do today. So the one thing on my list is that, then that's all I'm going to do. And it's like, I've been just like super little things, you know, go do this, go disconnect this, go write this, go, you know, just something super little. So that's what I've been trying to do as well, is after I'm done with the prayer, I'll just say, okay, what one thing?
And it's just whatever comes to you.
Yep.
Interesting. Wow. And do you feel like it's been like the thing that comes to you? Has it been a blend of like personal, business, or does it lean more towards one side?
It's leaning towards more personal, but I think that's probably because a lot of my prayers lately have been more personal. You know, there's things with family and things that I'm working on. And so those are kind of, you know, the front of mind for me.
Yes.
But yeah, I have been receiving even just little weird things like go say thank you.
Whoa. Okay. I'm incorporating this. I've got to see like what's about, because I feel like sometimes you just get so busy, which I mean, most women are, because we're handling all the things from family to work, et cetera. That it's so easy to not listen to God and what he's trying to tell us to do, or we like disagree with it and like, I don't have time for that. Or, you know, you just make up excuses, but I'm very interested to see if I do that, like what comes up.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm challenged. What about your nighttime routine? I know you said you're pretty low maintenance, so I'm assuming this is kind of low maintenance, but do you do any wellness practices at night that you love?
Not a heck of a lot. I try to read and I love to take baths. So if I can get a bath in, I'll do a bath with my reading. And it's always kind of funny because I have finally I have a bathtub that can like put one of those little holders across the top, you know, where you can put stuff on it. And I feel so spoiled now. And my reading list is so eclectic. You just never know what you're going to find on that. And people, you know, my husband's like, why are you reading that? Like, oh, that's what I'm interested in right now. So that's what I'm reading right now. Because I read all sorts of crazy stuff. But that's kind of just my wind down time is read and then do my same morning stuff and say a prayer.
Repeat.
Yeah.
With the books, is it fiction or nonfiction?
Always nonfiction. I very rarely read
know.
fiction. So, I mean, I should, but I just, there's just so many nonfiction things I'm so fascinated with. I mean, I'll have books that vary from Chinese tongue reading to borderline personality disorder to how do we grow using, you know, lasagna technique. I mean, I'm all over the map as far as what I'm reading, but it's just what I'm interested in. So,
oh my gosh, I love that. What would you say like is your favorite like all-time book you've read in a while?
My favorite all-time book, I know it is because I've actually read it 3 times and I never usually even read a book once. I mean, I would read a book once and then I'll never read it again. But this book I keep going back to, I just keep referencing. It's called Animal Vegetable Miracle. And it's by Barbara Kingsolver. And the reason I think I love it so much is, first of all, it talks about a lot of the things that I like to do as well. So Barbara Kingsolver is a novelist. She writes mystery novels. And she moved from Tucson to Virginia. And what they decided when they moved to Virginia, they moved onto an old farm and they decided they were going to only eat food that was grown within 100 miles of where they lived. And they did it for a year and they documented everything that they did for the year, for that entire year, where they got the food from, how they grew it, like what they were doing on their farm, how they had to kind of make do. Like she had I think it was her 50th birthday party, had all these people coming into town and they had to follow the rules. And so they had to figure out how to grow bean sprouts on their window seal so that they can make spring rolls for this party. I mean, just all sorts of things. But I think the reason I like it so much is she's a novelist. So she writes this journalistic report of what's going on in their life, but she writes it like a novelist, you know, so you just want to keep reading because she engages you with her words. She brings you into the story. You feel like you're living this year along with her. And then she has all these, her husband writes these kind of political political little snippets that he'll throw in that are, about the environment and that kind of thing. And then her daughters, there's a couple of daughters actually that write recipes and they write things and they add it all in. And anyway, it's my favorite book.
Wow. Was there anything like crazy fascinating that happened after they did this with their health? Did she get into that of just eating so local?
They did talk about that. I think it was almost even more health from a mental standpoint. They realized that they could sustain themselves. They realized that no matter what happened in the economy, they were safe. And they realized how important food was. She starts out with a story talking about how they're in Tucson and they are leaving. They're at a gas station, gassing up to leave to drive this cross-country route. And the woman checking them out at the gas station says, "Oh my gosh, can you believe it might rain today?" And she's looking around going, "We live in the middle of a desert. Like, we should be so excited that we have rain." But yet rain has become a nuisance in lives because we don't use the rain. And so then they went to Virginia, and they were there at a diner. They barely got into town, got some food, and the waitress came up and she's like, "Oh my gosh, aren't we so blessed that we've been having rain?" Wow. And she went, we've come to a different place where people appreciate the land. They appreciate the rain. They appreciate the food that comes from it, and so it was almost more of an awakening to where is our country currently in this, a tapestry of we don't know where our food comes from and we don't appreciate those who grow it and that kind of thing to, hey, I could actually become a part of this community and this is how I could support it. So it was almost more of that kind of health and food, figuring out how do you become part of this world. So anyway, it's just very much speaks. That's what I do. We try to grow all of our own food here in our homestead. I have a huge market garden that I'm the director of that's in coordination with a school. And I just really believe in teaching and helping people become self-sufficient. So I think that's why the book speaks to me so much, because she was doing it.
Agreed. Definitely something that I think it was like after COVID or during COVID, really, that opened up our eyes of just wanting that option, even if, we live closer to the city, but just being a little bit further out. So that's when I gave my husband the A-OK to get some land like 2 hours north of Austin. So it's a little bit more in the middle of nowhere, but not too far. So where it's like, a couple hour drive to like a city, but that was the turning point for us of just like, what if we needed to become self-sufficient and we needed to, we hunt already. So we use that land for hunting now. But to have our own space. And now we have chickens that are here with us. So, it's, man, you just start one and then you start going down the rabbit hole and getting all these things. Things.
Totally.
Now my chickens are like my best friends. So, give us a little bit of a 24-hour look at like, what are you eating? I love that you're eating very fresh. But what does your like breakfast, lunch, and dinners look like? Some of your go-to meals.
Breakfast, my favorite breakfast ever is actually eggs and yellow squash. It sounds so weird and people are like, what? You would put those together? But they're actually very delicious. So I love this time of year because I have yellow squash growing outside, more yellow squash than any human being could ever eat, growing outside right now. So I'll usually saute up some squash and then I'll crack a couple eggs. We have chickens as well. So there are our own eggs, crack a couple eggs into the pan and just cook that up. Although right now I'm not doing a lot of breakfast. I'm not a huge, I don't really espouse to any type of eating. Do you know what I mean? You talk about vegetarian, vegan, paleo, keto, like I don't really do that. I just say, okay, what does my body need right now? And how can I give it that? So it's actually kind of funny. I just went to the Culinary Institute of America, which is the premier culinary institute in the United States, and did a couple of boot camps there. And I ate like 20,000 calories a day, I'm pretty sure. So I came home like, all right, I'm going to eat less food for a little while.
Yes.
My body does not need as much food as I just ate, as I just fed it. So anyway, so at the moment I'm actually doing some intermittent fasting. So I'm actually not eating until about 11 a.m. And what I find kind of fascinating, actually, I find that I'm clearer.
Yeah.
So on one day a week, I only see new patients in my practice and I see 4 columns across. So I see 18 new patients, comprehensive, large people who have major health concerns, that's all I do all day long. And just this week, I was fasting in the morning. So I didn't eat until about 1:30 or so. That was the first time I really had an opening and an opportunity. But I noticed as soon as I ate, the patients after, I was kind of fighting a yawn a little. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? I was fighting a little bit of a yawn. I was not as clear. And I realized I was much clearer in the morning before I'd actually eaten any food. So that was interesting. So I may actually go a little longer on my work days without eating in the morning and just see if I can't continue that clarity. And I know that is ketones. That is, so again, I don't espouse any of these things, but I understand why they work.
Yes.
Understand what they're doing. So anyway, so breakfast, if I do it, I largely will do that, or a smoothie. A lot of times I call it like a garden sink smoothie, so it's whatever's in the garden right now. And it just all goes in the thing and everybody looks at it and thinks, are you going to seriously drink that? Like, yeah, it's fine.
So what veggies are you putting in there?
I don't do anything too crazy. I'll put in beets and carrots and cucumbers and lettuce. So that's not too crazy. I'll throw microgreens in there, and then I'll always throw some fruit in with it. So, I mean, it's not terrible, but people like sometimes the microgreens have arugula. And so then you're drinking a smoothie that's a little spicy and they're like, why in the world would you put that in the smoothie? Like, you can drink it. You can drink a quarter of anything. Come on. It's fine.
That's funny.
So lunch is usually leftovers actually from the night before. So I'll package them up. I have this cute little tiffin box that I use. That's like a Indian takeout container. It's metal, stainless steel, and you put it in the two little containers that nest together and little top flips over. It's the one that they carry around on bikes in India. So that's what I put my lunches in. And then dinner, I usually like to make something homemade for dinner. So we'll do something straight from the garden, whether it's a stir fry. I love Asian food. I actually spent a year teaching myself Asian cooking. So I'd take like 2 months to learn Japanese, 2 months to learn Korean, 2 months to learn Moroccan, a couple months to learn Indian. And I just kind of dive into things. And so we have a lot of ethnic cuisine around here. So I'll make a stir fry or a ramen where I'll boil bones all day and make a really yummy bone broth. And then we, make ramen out of that. And so we do a lot of Asian inspired types of foods with a lot of veggies included. So I love to cook though. I love to cook. I wish I had the time to cook even more because I would.
Yeah, I know that. I feel like that's the one thing I haven't hired out for or need help because I do love doing it. It just forces me to just stop working and stop all these other things and get back to living and getting our hands busy with the world, which is one of my profound appreciations for getting chickens. It's made me go outside more. So I love it. I agree with you. My dad's from the Philippines. And so he never taught me any of our cuisine. So I don't know how to make anything Filipino.
Well, that's too bad. Well,
I know.
There's always great recipe books you can buy.
Yeah. I know. And he'll get the weirder things I think there's a place near in Austin called H Mart, very Asian heavy. I don't know if it's nationwide. Yeah.
It's not, but I've gone there when I've been in the East. H Mart's awesome.
Yes, he loves it. But he'll get the weirdest looking animals and things, animal parts. And I'm like, yeah, see, I don't know. It's surprising. We did have some Filipino food growing up, but it was pretty much American. So still outside of my comfort zone naturally. So he's like, you don't like this? I'm like, oh no, Dad, you never really taught me how to make it or eat it. So not really. But with exercise, I know you mentioned running and hiking. Is there any other workouts that you love doing?
It's also another thing that I call it fake exercise and real exercise. So, I mean, it's all exercise, but I love to go out in the garden and weed for, half an hour. That's real exercise because, I just think, okay, 100 years ago, did people have to go? Did they go to the gym? No, because their life provided that much movement. And I know that every life doesn't provide that much movement, but I feel like you can find it if you look for it. You can walk, you can park further from the grocery store entrance. You can, you can close the computer and go and take a 5-minute walk around, or walk around the block. You can do those kinds of things. So yeah, I go running in the morning, running or hiking in the morning 2 or 3 times a week. But the rest of it's just what I would say real exercise. I just try to actually work, physically work, or stand on my feet for 6 hours canning peaches or, something. I'm like, I exercise. That was exercise today.
Yeah. No, I agree. Which actually going back to the squash thing, what do you do with all the squash so it doesn't go bad?
Exactly. It's a great question. Sometimes it just gets fed to the chickens. Sometimes the chickens eat a lot of squash during August also.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh man, that's funny. I don't know what happened to my chickens. It's like my chickens are broken because they won't eat scraps. Like I see on Instagram and all these people are feeding scraps, and I'm like, mine are so picky. Fruit, absolutely, but veggies, they'll like look at it very weird, and I'm like, great. I have broken chickens because I was looking forward to feeding them the scraps that I make from dinner, but apparently not. And as being like a reader, and possibly a listener for podcasts, do you have any favorite like, business or mental health books, podcasts, anything that has helped you in the business arena, as well as just your mental health or favorite devotionals?
I love business books that are allegorical. So the ones that tell you a story while they're teaching you a lesson. To me, those are a lot easier to engage in because you can jump into the story and go along with the story. And then all of a sudden you realize, I just learned something and they didn't even have to teach it to me. They were, but it wasn't intentional. So there's a lot of books. One's called Fish, a real fun, fun book about how you can engage and create customer service in a business. There's one that I really like. Now I'm going to blank on it. Leadership and Self-Deception. It's a really weird name. I wish they hadn't called it that. But it's called Putting People in the Box. And it totally changes the way you interact with each other. And again, these are all just like allegorical. They just kind of walk you through a storyline as they're teaching you principles about things. So those are my favorite kind. I'm trying to think of some good ones, looking over at my shelf over there. Which ones did I really like?
Like the Bible. It's like the Bible.
Totally the Bible. Yeah, it's parables. It's parables. Yes. It's exactly right. Yeah, it's exactly right. It's a business parable or a life parable. And we all learn better that way. So that's actually how I'm writing my latest book, is I'm writing it with allegories, with real stories, changing names so nobody knows, but real stories walking you through discoveries of health. Basically I call it like the health dashboard. How do we look at our own dashboard? How do we know what's going on and what does this mean? So anyway, that's how I'm presenting this story too.
Oh, I love that. Is this like your first book? You would say that you used that template?
Yeah. All the rest are they're just kind of, learn a topic in the book.
Yeah. I love that. Any podcasts, or are you more so of a reader?
It's interesting because my husband literally listens to podcasts 24/7. He almost like never stops listening. And he's always telling me, I like this podcast. I'm like, I don't learn by listening. Yeah, I can, but I am such an such a visual learner. And I think as a dentist, actually, if you were to poll dentists, you'll find that a lot of us are very, very visual, because people don't realize, but dentistry is actually a very visual profession. We have to make your tooth look like a tooth. We have to do things that are super tiny, and we have to, you don't realize that there's a lot of artistry and things in dentistry. And I think that I'm just such a strong, I can remember pretty much anything I've ever read. Like I can see the page it was on. I can see the words itself. I can remember everything if I learned it visually, but you tell it to me. And unless I have a visual, so if I'm listening to podcasts, I'll remember I was driving through the bank drive-through when I listened to that part, because I can remember the visual of the bank drive-through, but I don't necessarily remember what I heard. So I don't do a lot of podcasts for that reason, because I just suck material in through my eyes, but not my ears.
Yes. No, I feel you. I'm a reader at heart. Like, and I even love like books, like holding a book, not even a Kindle. Like
I don't like Kindles or ebooks at all. Yep. I need a real book.
And that's why it's a pain in the butt. I'm in my doctorate, so it's a pain in the butt getting all these textbooks that are huge, and I, could get them on a Kindle. And so literally the last couple trips that we've gone through this summer, I've brought this big textbook, and my husband's just like, that's like an ebook. I'm like, but I'm highlighting things, and I'm like really engaging with my reading.
And when you highlight, it gives you a visual reference point. And you remember it was on the upper left side of the page, about 2 paragraphs down, because it's a visual marker. And when you have a Kindle or an ebook, you lose all visual landmarks. So you lose reference. So you don't remember as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
I keep my Audible books for books that are just supposed to be encouraging. It's just
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when I need like an encouraging in my ear when I'm on a walk and I don't have to remember, it's nothing
Yep.
like too learny. That's like what my Audible books are for. So that's like a lot of like my Christian, like self-help books and stuff like that, or listening to someone's biography of like an entrepreneur. Like that is like, I don't need to remember, but I can enjoy it and just soak it in. So after I'm done with my walk, I'm on fire basically.
Exactly. Yep. I just actually listened to an audiobook that I loved called The Wealthy Gardener.
The Wealthy
Super
Gardener.
interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Super interesting. Loved this book. But yeah, it was an audiobook as well.
Gardener. Oh, okay. I'm going to put these all in
Yeah.
the show notes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else? How can we support you? I know that when I was looking over your store, it looked amazing. So I'm definitely going to grab some products myself. Any place we can support you, social media, website, fill us in.
Yeah, come check us out. Come check out the Living Well with Dr. Michelle website. I always say website and social media, Instagram, Facebook. I love to just share and teach. It was interesting when I was here at when I was at the Culinary Institute, I called my husband one evening and I said, I'm just already like figuring out which classes I'm going to do. Like I'm thinking I'm going to do a class on what we can learn from what we should take from a professional kitchen and bring home. Like which tips and tricks, that I learned in a professional kitchen should we do at home, or which equipment really matters. And he's like, that's so weird. He said, because if I were there and when I'm thinking of you there, he's like, I'm just thinking, I'm so glad she's going to cook me food when I come home. He's like, I don't think about, I would go home and teach a class, but that's just the way I'm wired. I just love to teach. So I learn it at a little deeper level usually because I'm always learning to then be able to go share with somebody else. So I love to teach. So go to the website, go to social media, because that's what I'm doing most of the time. I'm just telling you stuff that I'm learning somewhere else and trying to simplify it down into a real consumable, piece of information where you go, oh, that makes sense. Okay. That's super simple. Yep. That's it. So go there, get all the free stuff. There's lots of free stuff. And then whatever I find that I really do love, I'm very, very particular. I have people reach out to me every single day saying, hey, will you try this product? Will you do this? I will send it to you for free. I say no to about 95% of them, because unless it's something that I actually use and I actually would promote and I feel good about sharing with someone, I'm not going to talk. So if you see products on anything that I'm doing, it's because I actually literally use them in my daily life and they do help me live well. So I'm real particular about that. And I'm going to have a real narrow selection of things that just really do make a difference in life. So go check them out. There's lots of things on there and I love to share.
Well, I appreciate all the time you shared with us and all the great resources. I'm excited to keep watching you on social media, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.